The doorbell rang at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, and that's when my carefully rebuilt life began to crumble. I was halfway through my second glass of wine, sitting in my home office reviewing quarterly reports for the marketing firm I'd built from nothing. The same firm I'd poured myself into after Ethan died. Work had become my refuge, my therapy, my reason to get out of bed when grief threatened to swallow me whole. My wife Sarah was already asleep upstairs. Our daughter Emma was at a sleepover. The house was quiet except for the soft jazz playing from my computer speakers. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the frosted glass of our front door, I could see a tall silhouette. Something about the posture made my stomach tighten. The way the figure stood, weight shifted slightly to the right, hands in pockets, head tilted in a way that triggered something deep in my memory. "Who is it?" I called out, not moving closer. Silence. Then a voice that stopped my heart. "Michael, it's me, it's Ethan." My wineglass slipped from my hand, red liquid spreading across the hardwood floor like blood. That voice. I knew that voice better than my own. We'd shared a womb, shared a bedroom for 18 years, shared every secret, every fear, every dream until the accident that took him from me a decade ago. This wasn't possible. My legs felt like water. My chest tightened. The room spun as I gripped the edge of my desk, knuckles white, fighting the urge to vomit. "This isn't funny," I managed to say, my voice cracking. "Whoever you are, this is sick. This is the sickest thing anyone has ever done. Mike, please, I know how this sounds, I know what you're thinking. Just open the door, look at me. 30 seconds. If you don't recognize me, I'll leave and never come back." That voice. The cadence. The slight rasp on certain consonants. The way he said my name. Mike, not Michael. Exactly the way Ethan always had. My hand moved to my chest. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. 10 years of therapy. 10 years of learning to function without my other half. 10 years of building walls around the Ethan-shaped hole in my soul. All of it crumbling with 4 words. "It's me. It's Ethan." "I'm calling the police," I said, but my feet were already moving toward the door. "Do what you need to do," the voice said softly. "But look at me first, please, Mike. Look at me." My hand reached for the deadbolt. Every rational part of my brain screamed at me to stop, to grab my phone, to wake Sarah, to do anything except open that door. But something primal overrode logic, the same instinct that had always let us find each other in crowds, finish each other's sentences, know when the other was hurt or scared, even from miles away. Twin instinct. The thing I'd spent 10 years trying to convince myself was just superstition. I turned the deadbolt. The click echoed like a gunshot. I opened the door. Standing on my porch, illuminated by the yellow glow of our outdoor light, was my brother. Not someone who looked like my brother. Not a cousin or a distant relative or some cruel doppelganger. Ethan. Down to the small scar above his left eyebrow from when we were 12, and he fell out of the treehouse we'd built in secret. Down to the way he stood with his weight slightly on his right foot because of the basketball injury junior year that ended his dreams of college sports. Down to the tiny mole on his neck that Mom used to kiss when we were children. He was older. We would have been 32 now. His face had filled out, matured. Crow's feet touched the corners of his eyes. Eyes that had seen things, suffered things. His hair was slightly longer than he used to wear it, touching his collar. But the eyes, those were Ethan's eyes. The same dark brown with gold flecks that had looked back at me from mirrors my entire life. "Hey, Mike," he said softly, and smiled that crooked smile I'd mourned for 10 years. The world tilted. My vision blurred. I staggered backward, my shoulder hitting the doorframe hard enough to send pain shooting down my arm. He moved toward me, hands outstretched. "Mike, I've got you. Don't touch me." The words came out as a roar. I stumbled further back, my heel catching on the edge of the rug, nearly falling. "You're dead. You're dead. I went to your funeral. I helped carry your coffin. I gave the eulogy. I scattered your ashes in Lake Superior like you wanted. I held Mom while she sobbed so hard I thought she'd break apart. You're dead." "I know this is impossible," he said, stepping inside and closing the door behind him with a quiet click that sounded obscenely normal. "I know what you think happened. I know what you saw, what you were told, but I'm here, I'm real, I'm alive, Mike, I'm alive." I pressed my back against the wall of the entryway, my hands shaking so violently I had to clench them into fists. No, this is a breakdown. So I'm having a breakdown. The stress at work, the anniversary coming up next month, not enough sleep. You're not having a breakdown. Touch me. I'm real. Bodies don't come back from the dead. Ashes don't reassemble themselves. This is impossible. The laws of physics, biology, everything we know about reality. "Someone was in that car," Ethan said, his voice steady but his eyes filling with tears. "Someone died in that accident, but it wasn't me." The words hung in the air like smoke. "That's impossible," I whispered. You went off Route 47 in a snowstorm. Your car went into the ravine. They found you 3 days later. The police called. Dad identified your personal effects. Mom and I went to the morgue. My voice broke. We saw you. We saw your body. The body was badly burned, Mike. The face was... He paused, his jaw tightening, a muscle jumping beneath the skin exactly the way it always had when he was holding back emotion. Do you really remember seeing my face clearly? Or do you remember the shape of a body under a white sheet, and someone telling you it was me? I opened my mouth to argue, but the memory crystallized with horrible clarity. The morgue had been cold, sterile, smelling of chemicals and death. The medical examiner had pulled back the sheet to shoulder level. The face had been charred, unrecognizable. I'd turned away almost immediately, unable to look. Mom had lasted only seconds longer. It was Dad who'd stayed, who'd nodded, who'd made the formal identification based on, "Your wallet," I said. "Your wallet was in the car, your driver's license, your credit cards, your dental records matched." "Dental records can be switched," Ethan said quietly. "Wallets can be planted. Everything that identified that body as me was placed there deliberately. By who? Why? This doesn't make any sense. You're talking about conspiracy theories about..." I stopped, pressing my palms against my temples. "This is insane. I'm talking to a ghost about conspiracy theories. I'm not a ghost." He pulled off his jacket slowly, deliberately. Then he rolled up his left sleeve. On his inner forearm was our tattoo. We'd gotten them together on our 21st birthday, drunk on cheap beer and the invincibility of youth. 2 trees with intertwined roots. His was slightly faded now, the lines not quite as sharp as they'd been, but it was there. Real, permanent. "Anyone could have a tattoo," I said, but my voice had lost its conviction. He rolled up his other sleeve, exposing a long scar running from his elbow to his wrist. "Remember when I tried to climb the fence behind Morrison's music shop when we were 16, trying to impress Rachel Henderson? The barbed wire caught me, and you had to help me climb down while I bled all over both of us." I remembered. God, I remembered. We'd used our shirts to stop the bleeding, terrified to tell Mom and Dad. The scar had required 23 stitches and a creative story about a biking accident. "I need to sit down," I said. He helped me to the chair by the door, and this time I didn't pull away. His hand on my elbow felt solid, warm, real. He sat on the floor in front of me, cross-legged, the way we used to sit in our room late at night when we'd talk about everything and nothing. "I'm going to tell you something," he said. "And you're going to think I'm crazy, maybe I am, but it's the truth, Mike, every word of it." I nodded, unable to speak. I worked for a pharmaceutical company, Mercer Grant Industries. I was an entry-level researcher, nothing special, just another guy in a white coat running tests, checking data. But 6 months before the accident, I stumbled across something in their trial data. They were falsifying results for a new cardiac drug called cardozine. People were dying in the trials, not 1 or 2, but dozens. Heart attacks, strokes, sudden cardiac arrest, but the reports being sent to the FDA showed 0 adverse events. That's impossible. There are regulations, oversight. They were bribing people, medical examiners who'd rule deaths as natural causes, hospital administrators who'd lose paperwork, FDA inspectors who'd look the other way. I found the payments, Mike, millions of dollars moving through shell companies. I found emails discussing which test subjects they could afford to lose and which deaths would draw too much attention. I stared at him. This was the plot of a bad movie, not my brother's life. "I know how this sounds," he continued. "I didn't believe it either at first. I thought I was misreading the data, making connections that weren't there. So I dug deeper. I made copies of everything, trial results, financial records, emails, recorded conversations. I built an entire case, and I was going to take it to the authorities, the FDA, the FBI, the press. I was going to blow the whole thing wide open. What happened? They found out." His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "I don't know how. Maybe someone saw me copying files. Maybe they had monitoring software. Maybe I wasn't as careful as I thought. But 2 men came to my apartment on a Wednesday night. They didn't threaten me directly. They didn't have to. They showed me pictures, Mike, pictures of you leaving your office building downtown, of Mom at her pottery class, of Dad walking Chester in the park. They had your addresses, your schedules, Emma's daycare. They knew everything. My blood ran cold. Emma wasn't even born yet 10 years ago. Sarah was 3 months pregnant. They knew that too. They told me the baby's due date before you'd even told anyone outside the family. I thought I might vomit. They gave me a choice," Ethan continued. "Disappear completely, never contact my family again, never pursue the evidence I'd gathered, or they'd start with you. They said they'd make it look like accidents. Random, spread out over time so no one would connect them. You'd die in a mugging. Mom would have a fall down the stairs. Dad's heart condition would suddenly worsen. They were very specific, very calm, like they were discussing a grocery list. So, you chose to fake your death. They chose it for me. They'd already planned everything. They had someone, I still don't know who, probably someone from a morgue they'd paid off, ready to switch dental records with someone who matched my basic physical profile. The car accident wasn't an accident. They staged it, put their victim in my car, made sure the body would be too damaged for visual identification. Then they gave me 48 hours to disappear. And you just went along with it. The anger was rising now, cutting through the shock. You let us think you were dead? Let Mom die believing her son was gone? Tears streamed down his face openly now. I had no choice. Don't you understand? If I'd told you, if I'd warned you, you'd have gone to the police. You'd have tried to fight back, and they'd have killed you, all of you, maybe not immediately, but within weeks, months. They'd made that very clear. The only way to keep you safe was to let you believe I was dead and to stay dead. Mom grieved herself into an early grave. Dad's never been the same. I've spent 10 years in therapy trying to understand why my other half was just gone, and you were alive the whole time. Living somewhere, breathing, existing, while we fell apart. Do you think I don't know that? His voice broke. Do you think there's been a single day I haven't hated myself for it? I've been living in hell, Mike, moving every few months, never staying anywhere long enough to make connections, working under fake names at dead-end jobs, always looking over my shoulder. I've wanted to die more times than I can count. The only thing that kept me going was knowing you were safe. You, Sarah, Emma, knowing that my death meant your life. I stood up, walked to the window, stared out at the quiet street. Our neighbors' houses were dark, normal people sleeping through a normal night, unaware that reality had just shattered in the house next door. Why now? I asked. If coming back puts us in danger, why risk it after all this time? The CEO who ordered all of this, Marcus Bentley, died last month. Massive heart attack. Ironic, given the drug he was pushing killed people with heart problems. With him gone, the company's falling apart. Federal investigations, internal audits, executives turning on each other to save themselves. The people who threatened me are either in prison, dead, or too busy trying to avoid prison to care about a decade-old threat. I've been monitoring everything. It's over, Mike, finally over. And you thought you'd just show up at my door and everything would be fine? No. He stood, facing me. I thought you'd slam the door in my face. I thought you'd call the police. I thought there was a good chance you'd take a swing at me and I'd deserve it, but I had to try. I couldn't spend the rest of my life wondering if you'd forgive me, if you'd understand, if you'd believe that every day away from you was torture. I turned to look at him, really look, past the impossible circumstances, past the decade of grief and rage. I looked at the way he stood, weight on his right foot, hands loose at his sides, head tilted slightly as he waited for judgment, the same way he'd stood 1,000 times before, waiting for me to speak first, to lead the way, to make the decision. Twin instinct whispered, he's telling the truth. Logic screamed, this is impossible. But my heart, my broken, grieving, suddenly hopeful heart, recognized its missing piece. Show me proof, I said. If this is true, you'll have evidence, documents, something more than a story and old scars. He nodded. I have everything. The files I copied 10 years ago, new evidence I've gathered since, names, dates, bank records, recorded conversations. It's all in a storage unit in Cleveland. I can take you there tomorrow, but Mike, he stepped closer. I need to know if you believe me. Not the evidence. Me, your brother. Do you believe I'm really Ethan? I studied his face. The eyes that had watched the same sunrises from our bedroom window. The mouth that had shared secrets in the dark. The hands that had taught me to tie my shoes, throw a baseball, play guitar. Evidence could be faked. Documents could be forged. But this, the accumulation of 1,000 tiny details that only my brother would know, would carry in his bones. This couldn't be manufactured. I believe you, I whispered. He closed the distance between us and pulled me into a hug. His arms felt exactly as they had at graduation, at Dad's retirement party, at the airport when he'd left for his job at Mercer Grant. Like safety, like home, like the other half of my soul had finally found its way back. I held him and let myself cry for the first time since the funeral. Great, shaking sobs that came from somewhere deep and primal. He cried too, his tears soaking into my shoulder the way mine soaked into his. I missed you, I said into his neck. God, I missed you so much. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, for everything, for all of it. We stood there in my entryway, two grown men clinging to each other like drowning victims until the sun started to lighten the sky outside. Finally, I pulled back. Sarah's going to wake up soon. Emma comes home this afternoon. How do I explain this? "Hey, honey, remember my dead twin brother? Surprise, he's alive and has been in hiding for 10 years because of a pharmaceutical conspiracy." "You don't have to tell them," Ethan said quickly. "I don't expect you to upend your life. I can leave right now. We can meet somewhere else, somewhere safe." "No." The word came out hard, definitive. "No more hiding. No more lies. If you're really back, if this is really real, then we do this the right way, together, like we should have from the beginning." He searched my face. "You're sure? I've spent 10 years grieving you. I'm not spending another day pretending you're dead." I glanced at the stairs, hearing the faint sound of Sarah stirring in our bedroom. "But we need a plan. Sarah's going to need proof. She's going to need answers. And Emma," my voice caught, "she's never met her uncle. She's only seen pictures. What do we tell them?" "The truth." I squeezed his shoulder. "But maybe not all at once. First, we verify your evidence. We make sure you're really safe. Then we figure out how to bring you back from the dead." He smiled, that crooked smile. "We." I liked the sound of that. Footsteps creaked on the stairs. Sarah's voice floated down. "Michael, did I hear voices?" I looked at my brother, my living, breathing, impossibly alive brother, and made a decision that would change everything. "Yeah, honey," I called back. "Come down here. There's someone I need you to meet." Sarah stood at the bottom of the stairs in her bathrobe, staring at Ethan like he was a ghost, which in a way he was. "This isn't possible," she whispered, her hand gripping the banister so hard her knuckles turned white. "Michael, what is this? Who is this person?" "It's Ethan," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I know how insane that sounds, but it's him." She looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "Ethan is dead. We went to his funeral. We scattered his ashes. This is someone playing a sick joke, or you're having some kind of breakdown, or—" "I can prove who I am," Ethan said gently. He didn't move closer, giving her space. "Sarah, I know this is terrifying, but I promise you I'm real, and I can explain everything." "Don't." She held up a hand, her eyes filling with tears. "Don't you dare call me by my name like you know me. I don't know who you are, but my husband's brother died 10 years ago. I held Michael through the worst grief I've ever seen. I watched him fall apart and slowly put himself back together. So whoever you are, whatever con you're running, the night before our wedding," Ethan interrupted, "Mike called me at 2 in the morning, panicking. He said he couldn't remember his vows, that his mind had gone blank. We spent 3 hours on the phone while he practiced. Then he asked me if he was making a mistake, if he was ready to be a husband, and I told him. He looked at me, then back at Sarah. I told him that I'd never seen him look at anyone the way he looked at you. That when you walked into a room, everything else disappeared for him. That if he didn't marry you, he'd regret it for the rest of his life." Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. "I'd never told anyone about that phone call, not even Sarah." "The morning of the wedding," Ethan continued, his voice soft, "I gave Mike a flask of whiskey to calm his nerves. You found it during the ceremony and gave him a look that could have melted steel. Mike spent the entire reception terrified you were mad at him until you finally laughed and told him you'd hidden it in your bouquet and had a sip yourself." Tears streamed down Sarah's face now. These were details only someone who'd been there would know. Details from the private moments of our wedding day. "How?" she breathed. "How is this possible? Can we sit down?" I asked. "This is going to take a while." We moved to the living room. Sarah sat as far from Ethan as possible, curled into the corner of the couch like she was trying to disappear. I sat between them, a buffer, a bridge. Ethan told the story again, slower this time, with more details. The pharmaceutical company, the falsified drug trials, the people dying, the evidence he'd collected, the men who'd threatened our family, the staged car accident, the 10 years in hiding. Sarah listened in silence, her expression cycling through disbelief, horror, anger, and something that might have been understanding. When he finished, she turned to me. "You believe him?" "I didn't want to," I admitted. "But yes, I believe him. Why come back now? If these people were dangerous enough to fake your death, what's changed?" "The man who ordered it is dead," Ethan said. "The company's collapsing. Federal investigations, criminal charges. The whole house of cards is falling. I've been monitoring everything from a distance. It's safe now, finally safe." "You've been monitoring it?" Sarah's eyes narrowed. "From where? How?" "I've moved around, different cities every year or two. I worked as a bartender in Portland, a construction worker in Phoenix, a night janitor in Minneapolis, always under fake names, always cash under the table, no digital footprint, no paper trail. I taught myself computer forensics so I could track what was happening with Mercer Grant without leaving traces. It's been—" His voice cracked. "It's been lonely." Sarah stood abruptly. "I need air. I need to process this." She walked to the kitchen. I started to follow, but she held up a hand. "Give me a minute, please." Ethan and I sat in silence. Through the kitchen doorway, I could see Sarah leaning against the counter, her shoulders shaking. "She hates me," Ethan said quietly. "She should. I put you through hell. She doesn't hate you, she's terrified. Her entire understanding of reality just got shattered." I paused, like mine did 3 hours ago. "What do we do now?" "Now," I checked my watch, nearly 7 in the morning. "Now we call in sick to work, and we drive to Cleveland. If you have evidence, I need to see it. Sarah needs to see it, because right now, this is a story. We need facts." Sarah returned holding 3 mugs of coffee. She handed one to me, one to Ethan, and kept one for herself, an olive branch, or at least not a declaration of war. "This storage unit," she said, "what exactly is in it?" "Everything I copied from Mercer Grant before I disappeared," Ethan said. "Trial data showing the real adverse event rates for car design, financial records showing payments to medical examiners and FDA inspectors, emails from executives discussing how to suppress the information, recorded phone conversations, names, dates, amounts, enough to put half the C-suite in prison. Why didn't you turn it over to the authorities when it was safe?" "Because I was dead." He met her eyes. "The moment I came forward, every database in the country would flag me. Ethan Cooper, supposedly deceased. Banks would freeze accounts I'd opened under fake names. The IRS would want explanations. Law enforcement would have questions. I couldn't surface without a plan, without protection. And I didn't want to do any of it without talking to Mike first." Sarah sipped her coffee, studying him over the rim. "You look like him," she said finally. "Like Michael. It's uncanny. Identical twins," Ethan said with a small smile. "We used to swap classes in high school. Teachers could never tell us apart." "Mrs. Henderson figured it out," I said, the memory surfacing. "Remember? She made us wear name tags for an entire semester. Because you answered a question about the Civil War using information from my AP history class that you'd never taken." We both laughed, and for a moment it was like no time had passed at all, like we were still those kids, still whole, still unbroken. Sarah set down her mug. "Emma comes home at 2. We have 7 hours to drive to Cleveland, see this evidence, and get back before our daughter returns to find her dead uncle drinking coffee in our living room." "You're coming with us?" Ethan asked, surprised. "Someone needs to keep you two from getting lost in whatever twin telepathy thing you've got going on." She stood. "And if this is real, if you really have evidence of corporate murder and a decade-long cover-up, we're going to need a lawyer, probably several, maybe the FBI. This isn't something we can just handle ourselves." "I know a reporter," Ethan said, "investigative journalist named Lisa Chen. She's been covering pharmaceutical fraud for years. I've been anonymously sending her tips about Mercer Grant for the last 6 months. She doesn't know who I am, but she's been publishing stories about the FDA investigation." "You've been in contact with a reporter?" I asked. "Anonymously, how?" "Encrypted email, burner phones, dead drops for physical documents. Nothing that could be traced back to me." He pulled out his phone, a prepaid flip phone that looked like it was from 2005. "I've learned a lot about operational security in 10 years. Sarah shook her head in disbelief. "This is insane. This entire situation is insane." "I know," Ethan and I said simultaneously. We looked at each other and, despite everything, grinned. That old twin synchronicity, still intact after a decade apart. "Okay," Sarah said, grabbing her purse. "Let's go see this evidence before I convince myself I'm hallucinating." The drive to Cleveland took 3.5 hours. Ethan drove his beat-up Honda, while Sarah and I followed in our SUV. She'd insisted on separate vehicles, not quite ready to be trapped in a confined space with a man who should be dead. "Talk to me," she said as we merged onto the interstate. "Tell me what you're thinking." "I don't know what I'm thinking. My brain feels like it's been put in a blender." "Is it really him?" Her voice was small, uncertain. "I know what he said, the details he knows, but Michael, people can research things, hack databases, learn private information." "It's him," I said with absolute certainty. "I can't explain how I know, but I know." "Twin thing?" "Maybe, or maybe it's just—" I struggled for words. "You know how you can recognize someone's walk from a distance? Their laugh, the way they hold a phone. It's all those tiny things added together. The way he chews his thumbnail when he's nervous. The way his left eye squints when he smiles. The way he stands. No one could fake all of that." Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "If this is true, if he really has been alive all this time, are you angry?" "Yes and no. And I don't know." I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Part of me wants to scream at him for letting us suffer. Part of me is just relieved. He's alive, Sarah. My brother is alive. What do we tell Emma? That question had been gnawing at me since Ethan walked through our door. The truth eventually, but simplified. No pharmaceutical conspiracies or staged deaths. Just, Uncle Ethan had to go away for work, and now he's back. She's 8. She's not stupid. I know, but she's also 8. We'll tell her more when she's older, when she can understand. I glanced at the Honda ahead of us. Right now, I just want her to know her uncle. The storage facility was in an industrial area outside Cleveland, surrounded by chain-link fence and security cameras. Ethan pulled up to the gate, punched in a code, and the gate rolled open. Unit 42 was in the back corner, about the size of a walk-in closet. Ethan unlocked 3 separate locks, combination, key, and biometric scanner, before rolling up the door. Inside were 2 filing cabinets, a desk with a laptop, and boxes, dozens of boxes, all labeled with dates and cryptic codes. This is 10 years of work, Ethan said, gesturing to the space. Everything I could find about Mercer Grant. Everything they tried to hide. He opened one of the filing cabinets and pulled out a folder. Inside were medical records, trial participant data for car design. I'm a marketing guy, not a doctor, but even I could see the pattern. Adverse events marked as unrelated to study drug. Deaths categorized as natural causes despite occurring during active treatment. Signatures from medical examiners I recognized from the news, people who'd later been arrested for falsifying autopsy reports. Sarah looked through another box. Financial records, wire transfers to offshore accounts, payments labeled as consulting fees going to FDA inspectors, millions of dollars moving through shell companies. This is, she looked up at Ethan, this is evidence of murder, multiple murders. 37 people died in those trials, Ethan said quietly. 37 that I could document. The real number is probably higher. And carduzine still got approved. It's still on the market. People are still taking it, still dying from it. Then why haven't you gone public? I demanded. If you have all this, because going public meant admitting I'm alive, which meant putting you at risk. As long as I was dead, you were safe. The people who threatened me had no reason to touch you. But if I resurfaced, he shook his head. I couldn't risk it. Not until I was certain the threat was gone. And you're certain now? The CEO is dead. The CFO is in federal custody. The head of R&D died by suicide last month rather than face charges. The company's stock has tanked. They're filing for bankruptcy. The people who wanted me dead either can't hurt me anymore or have bigger problems than a decade-old loose end. Sarah pulled out her phone. I'm calling my brother. He's a federal prosecutor. If anyone knows how to handle this, it's him. Wait, Ethan said. Once we involve law enforcement, everything changes. There'll be questions about how I survived, where I've been, why I didn't come forward sooner. I've been living under false identities, working off the books, probably committing half a dozen crimes just by existing. I could go to prison. Or you could be a whistleblower, Sarah countered. You have evidence of corporate fraud that killed people. That's got to count for something. She's right, I said. We need professional help. This is too big for us to handle alone. Ethan ran his hands through his hair, that old nervous gesture. Okay, make the call. But Mike, he looked at me. Whatever happens next, I need you to know. Everything I did, every choice I made, it was to protect you. Even if it was the wrong choice, even if I should have trusted you to handle the truth, my only thought was keeping you safe. I pulled him into a hug. I know, and we'll figure this out, together. Sarah stepped outside to make the call. Through the open door I could hear her explaining the situation to her brother, her voice rising with incredulity as she tried to make him understand. Ethan and I stood in that storage unit, surrounded by a decade of secrets, and for the first time since he'd knocked on my door, I let myself feel hope. Not just that he was alive, but that maybe we could find our way back to being brothers again. Hey, I said, remember that guitar pick you gave me? The purple one. Yeah, why? I want you to teach me that song you were working on, the one you never finished, the one you were going to play at your wedding someday. His eyes filled with tears. I'd like that. Sarah came back inside, her face pale. My brother's calling the FBI. He says he used a lot of legal terms I didn't understand, but basically this is huge. He's sending a team to secure the evidence. They'll want to talk to you, Ethan. To both of you. When? Ethan asked. Now. They're already on their way. And just like that, the secret was out. No more hiding. No more pretending. Whatever came next, we'd face it together, the way brothers should. The FBI arrived in 3 black SUVs exactly 41 minutes after Sarah made the call. 6 agents in dark suits, led by a woman who introduced herself as Special Agent Jennifer Park. She was maybe 40, with sharp eyes that took in everything. The storage unit, the boxes of evidence, Ethan's face, my face, the way we stood slightly too close to each other in that unconscious twin proximity. Mr. Cooper, she said to Ethan, Then, looking at me, "And Mr. Cooper, this is quite a situation." "That's an understatement," I muttered. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I need to verify some things before we go any further. Ethan Thomas Cooper, according to our records, you died on January 14th, 2015, in a single vehicle accident on Route 47. Is that correct?" "That's what the records say," Ethan replied. "But I'm standing here, so clearly something went wrong with those records." "Indeed." She pulled out a tablet. "I'm going to need fingerprints, DNA, dental impressions. We'll need to verify your identity through every possible method." "I understand. And then I'll need your full statement about how someone can be legally dead for 10 years and yet very much alive." Over the next 4 hours, the storage unit became a crime scene. Agents photographed everything, catalogued every document, copied every file. A forensics team arrived with fingerprinting equipment and DNA kits. Someone brought sandwiches that no one ate. Ethan gave his statement 3 separate times, each time to a different agent, each time with slight variations in the details as they tried to catch him in a lie. But his story remained consistent. The pharmaceutical company, the falsified trials, the threats, the staged death, the 10 years in hiding. Sarah and I were separated and questioned individually. They wanted to know how long I'd been in contact with Ethan, whether I'd helped him hide, whether I'd known he was alive all along. "I found out 12 hours ago," I told Agent Park for the 3rd time. "He showed up at my door last night. I thought I was losing my mind." "And you believed him, just like that?" "No, not just like that. But he knew things only my brother would know. And I struggled to articulate the twin connection without sounding insane. I knew him, the way you know your own reflection. That's not something you can fake." She made notes on her tablet. "The evidence he's collected is substantial. If even half of it is authentic, we're looking at one of the largest pharmaceutical fraud cases in history. Multiple counts of murder, obstruction of justice, bribery of federal officials, the kind of case that makes careers." "I don't care about your career," I said sharply. "I care about my brother. What happens to him? That depends on several factors. How cooperative he is, whether his claims check out, whether a judge believes he had legitimate fear for his family's safety." She leaned back. "I'll be honest with you, Mr. Cooper. This is unprecedented. We've had whistleblowers. We've had people in witness protection, but someone who faked their own death, or had it faked for them, and stayed hidden for a decade. That's a legal gray area the size of Texas. He didn't break any laws. He's been using false identities, working under false social security numbers, possibly evading taxes. Those are federal crimes. Because he was trying to stay alive. I understand that. And a good lawyer might be able to argue duress, coercion, self-preservation, but there will be consequences. The question is whether those consequences are criminal charges or just a really complicated legal mess. By the time they finished processing the scene, the sun was setting. Emma would be home in 2 hours, and we were still 3 hours away from home. Sarah made frantic calls to her mother, arranging for Emma to stay another night. "No, Mom, everything's fine, just a work emergency." "Yes, Michael's here. No, I promise we're okay. I'll explain later." Agent Park gathered us together outside the storage unit. "Here's what's going to happen. We're taking all of this evidence into federal custody. Ethan, you're going to come with us to the Cleveland field office. We have more questions and we need to verify your identity through our own channels." "Am I under arrest?" Ethan asked. "Not yet, but you're not free to leave either. Call it protective custody while we sort this out." "I want to stay with him," I said. "That's not... He's my brother. I just got him back. I'm not losing him again." Agent Park sighed. "Fine, you can follow us to the field office. But Mr. Cooper, Michael, you should prepare yourself for the possibility that this gets complicated. Your brother is going to be at the center of a major federal investigation. His life is about to become very public, very scrutinized. That will affect you too, your family, your business. I don't care. You should." She softened slightly. "I've seen cases like this before. The whistleblower becomes a hero in the press, but their personal life gets destroyed. Every decision they've made for the past decade will be examined, questioned, judged. Are you ready for that?" I looked at Ethan, who was watching me with an expression that said he'd leave right now if I asked him to, who'd disappear back into whatever hole he'd been hiding in if it meant protecting me from the fallout. "I'm ready," I said. The FBI field office in Cleveland was a fortress of concrete and glass. They took Ethan to an interrogation room, though they called it an interview room, and I was left in a waiting area with uncomfortable chairs and bad coffee. Sarah sat beside me holding my hand. "This is really happening," she said. "Your brother is alive and we're in an FBI office and our entire lives are about to change." "Yeah. Are you okay?" "I don't know. Ask me in a year." My phone buzzed. A text from my business partner. Where are you? 3 clients called asking about missed meetings. I typed back, family emergency. Need a few days. Can you cover? The response was immediate. Of course. Everything okay? How did I answer that? My dead brother came back to life and now the FBI is involved in a pharmaceutical conspiracy. Will be, I typed. Thanks. Hours passed. At some point someone brought us actual food. Pizza from a local place that I couldn't taste. My mind was in that room with Ethan, wondering what they were asking him, what he was telling them, whether they believed him. Finally, around 11 p.m., Agent Park emerged. He's been consistent across every interview. His fingerprints match the ones on file for Ethan Cooper. We're running DNA against samples from his original autopsy, but it'll take a few days. In the meantime, we're moving him to a secure location. What does that mean? I stood up. What kind of secure location? A safe house. Until we can confirm his identity and determine if there's still a threat. The people he's accusing, some of them are still out there, still powerful. If they find out he's alive, I thought you said they were in prison or dead. Most of them, not all. She handed me a card. This is my direct number. If anything unusual happens, if anyone contacts you asking about your brother, if you notice anyone following you, you call me immediately. Can I see him before you take him wherever you're taking him? She hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. They brought Ethan to a small conference room. He looked exhausted, his eyes red-rimmed, his shoulders slumped, but when he saw me, he straightened. Hey, he said. Hey yourself. I hugged him hard. They treating you okay? Yeah, lots of questions, but they've been professional. Agent Park seems sharp. She said they're taking you to a safe house for a few days until they verify everything. Then we'll see. He pulled back to look at me. Mike, you don't have to do this. You don't have to be involved. I can tell them to leave you out of it. Stop, I interrupted. I'm not going anywhere. We're doing this together, remember? This is going to get messy. Media attention, legal battles. Your business could be affected. Emma's going to have reporters asking her about her uncle who came back from the dead. Then we'll deal with it, as a family. That's what families do. His eyes filled with tears again. I don't deserve you. You're right. You deserve better. But I'm what you've got, so you're stuck with me. He laughed through the tears. I've missed this, missed you. Me too. And when this is all over, when the FBI is done with their investigation and the lawyers have sorted out the legal mess, we're going to make up for lost time. All those birthdays, all those Christmases, all those moments we missed. We're getting them back. That's not how time works. I don't care. We'll make new moments. Better ones. Agent Park appeared in the doorway. Time's up, we need to move. I hugged Ethan one more time. Call me when you can, and Ethan, welcome back from the dead. It's good to have you home. Sarah and I drove back to Cincinnati in silence. It was past midnight when we finally pulled into our driveway. The house felt too big, too empty without Emma's chaos filling it. I'm going to bed, Sarah said. We can process all of this tomorrow, or next week, or next year, whenever my brain can handle it. Sarah, I caught her hand. Thank you for believing me, for coming to Cleveland, for not thinking I'd lost my mind. I did think you'd lost your mind, she said. But then I saw him, really saw him, and I understood. She kissed my forehead. Get some sleep. Emma comes home tomorrow, and she's going to have questions about why we weren't here. But I couldn't sleep. I sat in my office, staring at the 2 purple guitar picks on my desk, the one Ethan had given me last night, and the one I'd kept in my desk drawer for 10 years, the duplicate I'd never told him about. My phone rang at 3 a.m. Unknown number. Hello, Mike, it's me. Ethan's voice, low and urgent. I'm at the safe house. They've got guards, secure communications, the works. But there's something I need to tell you. Something I didn't say in front of the FBI. My stomach dropped. What? The evidence in that storage unit? It's not complete, I have more. Information I kept separate, hidden in a different location just in case. Information that's even more dangerous than what I gave them. What kind of information? Names, government officials who were involved in the cover-up, politicians who took money to block investigations, people who are still in power, still influential, people who wouldn't want this to come out. Ethan, you need to tell the FBI. I will. But not yet. Not until I know who I can trust. These people have reach, Mike. They've had 10 years to consolidate power, to cover their tracks. If I reveal everything too soon, before the FBI has enough to act on, it could all disappear. Evidence could vanish. Witnesses could recant. I could have an accident. Then what do you want me to do? I need you to get something for me. From my old apartment, the one I had before I disappeared. There's a loose floorboard in the bedroom closet under the carpet. I hid a flash drive there with encrypted files, backups of everything, plus the additional evidence I mentioned. If something happens to me, if I disappear again or worse, you need to get that drive and make sure it reaches the right people. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're in FBI custody. Mike, please, just in case, can you do this for me? Where's the apartment? He gave me an address in Columbus. The building's still there. Different tenants now, but the landlord is the same guy, George Kowalski. Tell him you're my brother, that you need to retrieve something I left behind. He'll remember me. I always paid rent 3 months in advance, always in cash. He liked me. Ethan, promise me, Mike. Promise me if something happens, you'll get that drive. I promise. But nothing's going to happen. You're safe now. I hope you're right. He paused. I should go. They're monitoring the calls, even the secure line. I just needed to tell you in case... Stop saying in case, Carl, you're paranoid. Paranoid keeps you alive. A slight laugh. I'll call you tomorrow. Tell Emma her uncle can't wait to meet her. He hung up. I sat there in the dark, holding my phone, trying to convince myself that Ethan was just being cautious, that the threat was really over, that the people who'd forced him into hiding were truly powerless. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this was far from finished, that somewhere someone had just realized Ethan Cooper wasn't as dead as they'd thought, and that realization was about to make things very dangerous. I didn't tell Sarah about the phone call. When she woke up, I was already dressed, drinking my 3rd cup of coffee, staring at my laptop without seeing the screen. You didn't sleep, she said. It wasn't a question. Couldn't. I closed the laptop. Too much running through my head. Emma's coming home at 2. We need to figure out what we're telling her. The truth. A simplified version, but the truth. Your uncle who died before you were born is actually alive isn't exactly simple. Before I could respond, my phone rang. Agent Park. Mr. Cooper, we have a situation. My blood went cold. What happened? Is Ethan... He's fine, but last night, someone attempted to access the storage facility where we found the evidence. Our team was still processing the scene, so they were intercepted. 2 men, both carrying weapons, both refusing to identify themselves. Did you arrest them? We tried. They had federal credentials, Department of Health and Human Services, but when we ran their IDs, they came back flagged. Deep cover agents from some alphabet agency that won't confirm or deny their existence. What does that mean? It means the rabbit hole goes deeper than we thought. Ethan wasn't just threatened by a pharmaceutical company. He stumbled into something that involves government agencies, the kind that don't officially exist. I sank into my chair. How is that possible? Cardizine wasn't just about profit. The drug was being tested for military applications. Enhanced cardiac function for soldiers in combat. The company had defense contracts, black budget funding. When Ethan uncovered the trial deaths, he didn't just threaten their profits, he threatened classified programs worth billions. Oh God, Ethan doesn't know this, does he? We're telling him now. And Mr. Cooper, we're moving him again, somewhere even more secure. And we need to put protection on you and your family. Protection? You think we're in danger? If these people went to the lengths of faking a death 10 years ago, they might be willing to do it again. Especially now that Ethan's resurfaced and we have the evidence. She paused. Pack a bag, enough for a week. We're moving you to a secure location within the hour. I can't. My daughter comes home in 4 hours. She doesn't know anything about this. I can't just disappear. Then we bring her too, and your wife. This isn't optional, Mr. Cooper. Your brother just became a witness in a case that could bring down not just a pharmaceutical company, but potentially expose illegal government programs. That makes you all targets. Sarah had been listening to my side of the conversation, her face getting paler by the second. What's happening? I covered the phone. Pack a bag. We need to leave. Emma too. Michael. Now, Sarah, please. She ran upstairs. I returned to Agent Park. How long do we have to hide? Until we can guarantee your safety. Could be days, could be weeks. We're working on getting Ethan into formal witness protection, but that takes time. In the meantime, we keep all of you somewhere they can't find you. What about my business, my clients, Emma's school? We'll handle it, but you need to trust us. These people play for keeps. An hour later, we were in an SUV with tinted windows, being driven to God knows where by 2 agents who wouldn't answer questions. Sarah sat beside me, rigid with fear. I held her hand, trying to project a calm I didn't feel. This is insane, she whispered. 24 hours ago, our biggest problem was deciding what to have for dinner. Now we're in witness protection because my dead brother-in-law uncovered a government conspiracy. I know, I'm sorry. I never meant... Don't. She squeezed my hand. Don't apologize for your brother being alive. Whatever happens, whatever this becomes, I'd rather deal with this than watch you grieve him for another 10 years. We picked up Emma from Sarah's mother's house. Emma bounced into the car full of stories about her sleepover, oblivious to the armed agents in the front seat. Why are we going on a trip? She asked. Mom said it's a surprise vacation. I forced a smile. Something like that, sweetie. Where are we going? It's a surprise. Is Grandma coming? No, just us this time. Her face fell. But I wanted to show her the bracelet I made. Sarah pulled her close. You can show her when we get back, I promise. The safe house was 2 hours outside the city, hidden at the end of a long dirt road surrounded by trees. It looked like a normal farmhouse, but I could see the security cameras, the reinforced doors, the agents positioned at strategic points around the property. Inside, Ethan was waiting. Emma saw him and stopped dead. She looked at me, then at him, her 8-year-old brain trying to process why there were two of her father. Emma, I said gently, this is your Uncle Ethan, my brother. Your Uncle Ethan who… I paused, searching for words. Who's been away for a very long time. You said he died, Emma said, her voice small. I thought he did. We all did. But sometimes, how did I explain this to an 8-year-old? Sometimes things happen that we don't understand and people we thought were gone come back. Ethan knelt down to Emma's level. Hi, Emma. I've wanted to meet you for so long. Your dad has told me all about you in his thoughts and prayers. How smart you are, how brave you are, how you love art class and hate math homework. Emma looked at me. Did you know he was alive? No, sweetheart. I just found out 2 days ago. I was just as surprised as you are. Are you really my uncle? I really am. Ethan smiled. I know this is confusing, but I promise, I'm going to do my best to explain everything when you're ready to hear it. Emma studied him for a long moment, then walked over and touched his face, his arm, his hand, verifying he was real. You look exactly like Daddy. That's because we're twins. We shared the same birthday, grew up together, even dressed the same when we were kids. Do you like butterflies? Emma asked. Daddy hates butterflies. He says they're just flying worms. Ethan laughed. I love butterflies. When we were 7, I wanted to be a lepidopterist, a butterfly scientist. Your dad thought I was crazy. You were crazy, I said. You made me catch caterpillars for weeks. Emma's expression shifted from confusion to cautious curiosity. Can you tell me stories about when Daddy was little? I have hundreds of stories. How much time do you have? We might be here for a while, Sarah said quietly. Over the next few days, a strange routine developed. Emma spent hours with Ethan, soaking up stories about the father she'd known her whole life and the uncle she'd never met. Sarah worked remotely, taking conference calls in the bedroom, trying to maintain some normalcy. I coordinated with my business partner, spinning lies about a family emergency, buying us time. And at night, when Emma was asleep, Ethan told us the rest. The defense contractors funding Cardazine's development weren't just interested in cardiac enhancement, he said. They wanted to create soldiers who could fight longer, push harder, survive conditions that would kill normal humans. The drug wasn't failing. It was working exactly as designed, but the side effects were catastrophic. Heart attacks, strokes, psychotic breaks. One test subject killed his entire family before dying of cardiac arrest. And they were going to release this to the public? Sarah asked, horrified. The military version was different from the civilian version. Higher dosage, different formulation. But the civilian version used the same base compound. They thought if they could get it approved by the FDA for normal use, it would provide cover for the military research. No one would question why the government was suddenly interested in a heart medication. That's evil, I said. That's genuinely evil. That's why they were willing to kill to protect it. We're not just talking about corporate profit. We're talking about classified military programs, black budgets, plausible deniability, the kind of thing that ends careers and starts congressional investigations. Agent Park joined us on the 4th day, bringing news. We've made arrests. The former head of R&D at Mercer Grant, 2 medical examiners who falsified autopsy reports, and we've frozen assets for half a dozen shell companies connected to the fraud. What about the government officials? Ethan asked. The ones with the defense contracts? That's more complicated. We're coordinating with other agencies, but it's slow. These people have lawyers, political connections, friends in high places. In other words, they might walk. Some of them, maybe, but we'll get some, and the publicity alone will destroy their careers. She turned to me. We're prepared to offer your family formal witness protection, new identities, relocation, financial support, but it's permanent. You'd have to leave everything behind. I looked at Sarah, at Emma coloring in the corner, at Ethan. No, we're not running. Not again. Michael, Sarah started. No. Ethan spent 10 years hiding. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder. If there's a threat, we face it. Together, and we end it. That's very brave, Agent Park said. Also very stupid. These people have killed before. They'll kill again. Then arrest them. Use Ethan's evidence. Do your job. We are. But it takes time. Then we'll wait. But we're not disappearing. Sarah touched my arm. Can we talk? Privately? We stepped outside onto the porch. The sun was setting, painting the sky in oranges and purples. I agree we shouldn't run, she said. But Emma, we have to think about Emma. Her safety comes first. I know, but Sarah, if we take new identities, we lose everything. Our families, our friends, our entire lives. Emma loses her grandparents, her school, her friends. Is that really better than taking reasonable precautions and fighting back? I don't know what's better. I just know I'm terrified. Tears streamed down her face. I keep thinking about those test subjects, the ones who died. What if that happens to us? I pulled her close. It won't. We have the FBI protecting us. We have Ethan's evidence, and we have each other. That's enough. Is it? It has to be. That night, unable to sleep, I found Ethan sitting on the back porch, staring at the stars. Can't sleep either, I asked. Too used to being alert. 10 years of looking over my shoulder doesn't go away overnight. He glanced at me. I heard what you told Agent Park about not taking witness protection. You don't agree. I think you're being noble and stupid in equal measure, but I also think, he paused, I think I've hidden long enough. Maybe it's time to stop running and start fighting. Together? Together. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, just being brothers again. I went to your grave, I said finally. Every year on your birthday, I'd go to the cemetery and talk to a headstone with your name on it. Tell you about my life, about Emma, about everything you were missing. I felt crazy doing it, but it helped. What did you tell me? That I forgave you for whatever you were running from that night. That I understood you must have had a good reason for being out there in a snowstorm. That I loved you and missed you and wished I'd been a better brother. Ethan's voice cracked. You were always a better brother than I deserved. That's not true. We took care of each other. That's what twins do. I'm sorry for all of it, for letting you think I was dead, for the grief I put you through, for missing Emma's entire life, for... Stop. I put my hand on his shoulder. You did what you had to do to keep us safe. I understand that now. And we have time. Time to make new memories, to build a relationship with Emma, to be brothers again. That's what matters. He nodded, wiping his eyes. The storage unit in Columbus. Did you? Not yet, but I will. If anything happens, nothing's going to happen. Agent Park's team is solid. The evidence is overwhelming. This is almost over. But even as he said it, I could see the doubt in his eyes. The fear that had kept him alive for 10 years was still there, whispering that it was never really over. 3 days later, Agent Park returned with more agents and a box of documents. Ethan Thomas Cooper, she said formally. The United States Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Ohio is prepared to offer you full immunity from prosecution in exchange for your testimony against Mercer Grant Industries and associated parties. Additionally, the Department of Justice has approved your entry into an unprecedented arrangement, what we're calling conditional witness protection. You'll be able to live under your real name, but with ongoing security and monitoring. What does that mean practically? Ethan asked. It means we can't completely restore your old life, but we can give you a new one. We'll help you obtain new Social Security documentation, clear up the legal issues around your fake death, and provide protection while the trials proceed. But you'll need to testify multiple times against very powerful people. I'm ready. Your family will also receive protection during this period. After the trials conclude, assuming we secure convictions, the threat level should decrease significantly. And if you don't secure convictions? Sarah asked. Agent Park's expression was grim. Then we reevaluate, but we're confident. The evidence is solid. We have multiple witnesses willing to testify. This case is as strong as they come. Over the following weeks, we settled into a new normal. Ethan moved into a supervised apartment in Cincinnati, close enough for regular family dinners, but separate enough to maintain some independence. Emma adjusted with the resilience of children, accepting her uncle's return with fewer questions than the adults. My business took a hit from the time away, but my partner covered brilliantly, and our clients mostly understood. And then, 6 weeks after Ethan walked back into my life, I got the call I'd been dreading. Mike, it's Agent Park. We have a problem. What kind of problem? One of our key witnesses just recanted his testimony, the medical examiner who was going to testify about the falsified autopsy reports. He claims he was mistaken, that the deaths were natural causes after all. That's impossible. Ethan had documents. Documents can be explained away. We need witness testimony to make them stick, and without it, our case against the higher-ups gets significantly weaker. What does this mean for Ethan? It means the threat level just went back up. Someone got to our witness, which means they know who else we're relying on, which means they know about Ethan. I thought you said he was protected. He is, but protection isn't perfect. Mike, I need you to convince your brother to reconsider witness protection, full protection, new identity, relocation. Because if this case falls apart, The people he's accusing will have nothing to lose. So I hung up and immediately called Ethan. I know, he said before I could speak. Agent Park called me. I'm not running, Mike. Ethan, this is different. If the case collapses, then I released the backup files. The ones I told you about. The evidence that goes even deeper, that names names that can't be explained away. I've been holding it back because it's so explosive it could destabilize the entire government health apparatus. But if they back me into a corner, I'll burn it all down. That's suicide. No, that's justice. These people killed 37 that we know of. They threatened our family. They stole 10 years of my life. I'm done hiding, Mike. I'm done letting them win. Then at least get the backup files to Agent Park. Let the FBI have everything. Not yet. The FBI might have leaks. Hell, they probably do have leaks. The moment I turn over that evidence, someone in the government will know, and they'll know I have to be silenced before I can testify. No, the backup stays hidden until I'm literally on the witness stand. Insurance. Ethan, I need you to trust me. I've been staying alive for 10 years through careful planning. I know what I'm doing. But 3 days later, Ethan missed our scheduled check-in call. Then he missed the next one. By the third missed call, I was in Agent Park's office demanding answers. We don't know where he is, she admitted. He left his apartment last night to meet someone. He wouldn't tell us who. Said it was personal, not related to the case. He disabled his tracking device and disappeared. You lost him. You were supposed to be protecting him. He's not a prisoner, Mr. Cooper. He's a witness under voluntary protection. He has the right to move freely. We advised against it, but we can't force him to comply. I called his phone. Voicemail. I called again and again. Finally, at 2 a.m., he answered. Mike, I'm okay. I'm safe. I can't tell you where I am, but I need you to do something for me. Where are you? What's going on? Remember that apartment in Columbus? You need to go there, now, tonight. Get the flash drive I told you about and take it to Lisa Chen, the reporter. Her contact information is on the drive. She'll know what to do with it. Ethan, what happened? Why did you run? I didn't run. I'm taking control of the narrative, but I need insurance. If something happens to me, that drive is everything. Government officials, classified programs, money trails, all of it. Promise me you'll get it. Come back, let the FBI protect you properly. The FBI has leaks, Mike. Someone inside is feeding information to the other side. That's how they got to our witness. I can't trust the system anymore, but I can trust you. Please, get the drive, tonight. The line went dead. I looked at Sarah, who'd been listening to my half of the conversation. I have to go to Columbus. Then I'm coming with you. No, stay with Emma. If this goes wrong, I want us together. All of us. We'll take Emma to my mother's house. Then we go to Columbus. Together. We made the drive in record time. The apartment building was exactly as Ethan had described. Old, slightly run down, but maintained. I knocked on the landlord's door at 4 a.m. George Kowalski answered in a bathrobe, annoyed until I explained who I was. His expression shifted to recognition. You look just like him. David, right? That's what he called himself. Always paid in advance, always quiet. I was sad when he moved out. I need to get into his old apartment. Unit 12. He left something there. Something important. That unit's occupied now. Young couple just moved in last month. I'll pay them, whatever it takes. This is literally life or death. He studied me for a long moment, then sighed. Give me a minute to get dressed. The young couple were understandably confused by being woken at 4:30 a.m. by their landlord and a stranger claiming to need access to their closet. But $1,000 in cash smoothed things over. I found the loose floorboard exactly where Ethan said it would be. Underneath, wrapped in plastic, was a small flash drive. Got it, I told Sarah. Let's go. We were halfway back to Cincinnati when my phone rang. Unknown number. Michael Cooper? A voice I didn't recognize. Who is this? My name is Dr. Richard Wellesley. I'm calling about your brother. He's asked me to contact you. Where is he? Is he hurt? He's alive and safe for now. But he's asked me to tell you something very important. The flash drive you just retrieved. It can't go to the reporter yet. It has to go to a specific person first. Someone who can guarantee it reaches the right people without being intercepted or buried. Who? Senator Patricia Morrison. She chairs the Senate Health Committee. She's been investigating Mercer Grant for months independently of the FBI. Your brother trusts her. He's been in contact with her office secretly, providing them with preliminary information. How do I know you're telling the truth? How do I know Ethan actually sent you? He said to tell you. The treehouse had 42 steps to the top. You counted them together when you were 12. He said you'd know what that means. My chest tightened. We'd built that treehouse in the woods behind our house. We'd counted the steps we nailed into the tree trunk, proud of making it to exactly 42 before we ran out of wood. No one else knew that number. Okay, how do I reach Senator Morrison? She'll reach you within the hour. Keep the drive secure until then. He hung up. Sarah was pale. Do you believe him? I don't know, but he knew about the treehouse. That's not public information. That's not something you could research. Unless Ethan told someone under duress, unless this is a trap. Before I could respond, my phone rang again. This time the caller ID showed U.S. Senate, Morrison. I answered, putting it on speaker. Mr. Cooper, this is Senator Patricia Morrison. I understand you have information pertaining to Mercer Grant Industries and associated government programs. I need you to bring it to Washington immediately. I can have a car pick you up within the hour, or you can drive yourself. But time is critical. People are dying, Mr. Cooper. Every day that evidence stays hidden, more people die. How do I know I can trust you? You don't, but your brother does. He's been working with my office for 3 months, providing us with evidence piece by piece, helping us build an airtight case. The FBI's investigation is important, but it's narrow. I'm looking at the bigger picture, the government agencies, the defense contractors, the systemic corruption that allowed this to happen. Your brother believes I can make real change. I hope you do too. Is Ethan with you? No, but he's safe. He's with people I trust completely. And when you arrive in Washington, you'll see him. You have my word. I looked at Sarah. She nodded slightly. We're coming, I said. But if anything happens to my brother, if this is a trap, I'll make sure that flash drive goes to every news organization in the country. You understand me? I understand perfectly. And I give you my word as a United States Senator. Your brother will be safe. Now drive carefully, Mr. Cooper. You're carrying evidence that's going to change everything. The drive to Washington took 8 hours. We stopped once for gas and coffee, barely speaking, the flash drive sitting between us like a bomb. Senator Morrison's office was in the Hart Senate office building, elegant and imposing. Her chief of staff met us at security, expedited our clearance and escorted us to a private conference room. And there, sitting at the table with a cup of coffee and a tired smile, was Ethan. I crossed the room in 3 steps and hugged him hard enough to crack ribs. You scared the hell out of me. I'm sorry, I had to disappear to make this meeting happen. The FBI's been compromised. Someone's been feeding information to Mercer Grant's lawyers. I couldn't risk them knowing about Senator Morrison. Senator Morrison entered the room, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and silver hair. Mr. Cooper, Mrs. Cooper, thank you for coming. I know this has been incredibly difficult for you. You could say that, Sarah said dryly. Your brother has been extraordinarily brave. The evidence he's provided has already led to significant developments. But this, she gestured to the flash drive I placed on the table, this is what we need to bring down the entire operation, not just Mercer Grant, but the government officials who enabled them, the defense contractors who profited from it, the whole corrupt system. What happens now? I asked. Now we move quickly. I'm calling for emergency hearings, live testimony, public record, everything out in the open where it can't be buried or explained away. Ethan will testify. Others will testify. And by the time we're done, everyone will know what was done in the name of profit and national security. And my family, I asked. What protection do we get? Full protection, not just from law enforcement, but from the Senate itself. I'm making this my personal priority, Mr. Cooper. Your brother trusted me with the truth. I won't let him down. Or you. Over the next 6 weeks, the hearings became national news. Ethan testified for 3 full days, walking through every detail of the fraud, the cover-up, the threats. Other witnesses came forward, emboldened by his courage. Documents were entered into evidence. The CEO of Mercer Grant was arrested on live television, and slowly, painfully, justice began to take shape. 3 months after Ethan knocked on my door, we sat together in my backyard, watching Emma play on her swing set. The media circus had died down. The trials were ongoing, but the immediate danger had passed. Life was beginning to feel almost normal. I've been offered a job, Ethan said, consulting for the FDA, helping them develop better oversight for clinical trials. It's ironic. I spent 10 years hiding from the system and now I'm being asked to fix it. You going to take it? I think so. It's a chance to make sure what happened with Cardazine never happens again. Seems like a good use of a second life. Second life. I like that. I clinked my beer bottle against his. What happened to your first life? I'm living it right now with my brother, meeting my niece, being part of a family again. This is the life I was supposed to have. I'm just getting a late start. Emma ran over, grass stains on her knees. Uncle Ethan, will you push me on the swing? Of course. Race you there. They took off running, and I watched them go. My brother, alive and laughing, playing with my daughter in the fading sunlight. Sarah joined me, leaning against my shoulder. We made it, she said quietly. Yeah, we did. Do you still have nightmares about him being gone? Sometimes. But now when I wake up, I can call him, hear his voice, know he's real. That helps. He's staying, right? In Cincinnati. He's looking at apartments. wants to be close to family, close to Emma, says he has 10 years of uncle duties to catch up on. We sat in comfortable silence, watching Ethan push Emma higher and higher on the swing, her laughter carrying across the yard. My twin brother was alive. The impossible had become possible, and somehow, against all odds, we'd found our way back to each other. Not the same people we'd been, not the same relationship, but something new, something forged in fire and loss, and incredible, impossible hope. "Hey," Sarah said, "your phone's ringing." I checked the screen. Agent Park. "Mr. Cooper, I thought you'd want to know. We got the verdict in the Mercer Grant trial. Guilty on all counts. The CEO's looking at life in prison, and 3 of the government officials involved have already taken plea deals." "That's good news." "It's better than good. It's justice. Your brother did that. He refused to stay silent, refused to stay hidden, and he changed everything." I looked at Ethan, who'd noticed me on the phone and was giving me a questioning look. "Thank you, Agent Park, for everything." I hung up and walked over to my brother. "That was the FBI. The jury came back guilty." He closed his eyes, breathing out slowly. "It's over. It's over." Emma tugged on my shirt. "What's over?" "A long story, sweetie. One we'll tell you when you're older." "Is Uncle Ethan staying for dinner?" I looked at my brother. "Yeah, he's staying for dinner." "And tomorrow?" Emma asked. "Is he coming back tomorrow?" Ethan knelt down to her level. "I'm coming back tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, for as long as you'll have me." "Forever," Emma said seriously. "You have to stay forever, because families stay together." "You're right," Ethan said, his voice thick with emotion. "Families stay together." He looked at me over Emma's head, and in that moment I saw it all. The grief we'd survived, the lies we'd unraveled, the impossible truth we'd discovered. My twin brother was alive, not a ghost, not a memory. Alive and real, and finally home. "Forever," I agreed. "We stay together forever." And for the first time in 10 years, I believed it. And so we reached the end of another unforgettable journey. If this story touched your heart, stirred your emotions, or simply made you feel something, you can help me in 3 simple ways. Leave your like. It's quick, free, and shows me I'm on the right path. Subscribe and turn on the bell to never miss our upcoming stories. Comment below what moment struck you the most in this story. Every like, every subscription, every comment motivates me to bring you more engaging emotional stories full of twists and turns. And if you know someone who would love this story, share it. Sometimes a good narrative is exactly what someone needs for their day. Thank you for being here with me. See you in the next story.